Greetings and welcome. My name is Jake Rayson. I am a forest gardener and a forest garden designer, and today I got up late. And yes, it's all been a bit hectic, but I am here at 10 o'clock. We are looking at CAD. There is a slideshow, not much in it this week. It's kind of practical stuff, and it's about designing with CAD. Really basic stuff. This is probably to be honest, it's not that appropriate for most people. It's only if you're a bit geeky and you want to do this, you do this a fair bit, but it still kind of might be useful, and it's what I'm doing a lot of at the moment. I was going to show you the paper, but I'll mention it, how to do it on the paper. I've got a pad up here, hold on, and I'll go through, it's the same ideas with using paper as using CAD, but it's using a compass and a ruler and bendy things. So I'll discuss it, but I won't really kind of focus on it because it's not what I do, B, I haven't prepared it, and C, you're bright enough, if you're watching this, you're bright enough and clever enough to work it out for yourselves. Okay, I've got the chat up. Sorry, there will be a Zoom chat at the end of this as well. For the slides, for what it's worth, this is the URL, forestgarden.wales/talks/design CAD, and yeah, there's not an awful lot there to see, to be honest, so I'll just get cracking. Today, I am going to be looking at setup. So this is what I discussed last week's live stream. You can catch up with that on YouTube, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/natureworks garden, natureworks garden, all one word. It'll be on my YouTube channel, and you can just, I'll run through it quickly. It's taking a satellite photograph. If you're doing it on paper, you can print it out on paper and then trace it onto a piece of A4 squared paper like this. And if you're doing it in CAD, you import it into CAD. Then you draw the boundaries, and that's as far as I got last week. I will show you. I will do it. I will do it now, just for a kind of real basic thing. And it's actually, it'll be interesting to see if anyone who hasn't used CAD before. It's actually quite interesting to see how complicated it really is. But it's like an awful lot of these things. As soon as you get, I'm gonna move my camera. That's all right. As soon as you get into it, it's little steps. It's just little things, and you just do a little thing, and then you work out how to do something else, and then you work out how to do something else, and before you know it, you're an expert. Kind of not being semi-serious there. So I'll be looking at creating a circle. So the setup, importing a satellite photograph, circle, simple circle, which is what we use for trees. The reason why it's important to do a plan, which is basically get the tree spacing right. Other plants you can move about more easily, but get the trees right. Drawing a rectangle, drawing a line, and then there's two tools. And what you will find is, if you ever do get into using CAD, there are two tools that you use a lot. Well, I use these a lot, and they are kind of really good for combining shapes. And it's kind of like if anyone ever did any drawing. I went to art school for a little bit, and I remember that there was an awful lot of talk of the kind of basic shapes and the volumes. So you'd have like a sphere or a cube or whatever they're called. Squares and square, triangle. Square, triangle, circle, rectangle, triangle, and circle. And it's the same kind of thing in CAD as well. You create basic shapes, circles, rectangles, and lines, and then you can combine them, and then that's what you do. But I'll look at using it. But to be honest, circles, rectangles, and lines are kind of the key things really for doing the most important stuff, which is where the house is, where the boundary is, and where the trees are. And then, offset tool and divide tool, I'll show you them because they're quite interesting. And then I'll look at NURBS, just because I'm a nerd, and using NURBS is, I just love the name. And it starts where things start to get kind of fun and exciting. Not a bit beyond, probably, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting anyway. Trust me. Okay, so first of all then we're going to set up is a satellite photograph and a scale meters per pixel. This this is one I prepared earlier, excuse me. Ta-da. So this is a satellite photograph. I'm using this purely for demonstration purposes. I do not own the copyright on this image, blah, 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 blah. This is from bing.com, I think, and this is a client's job I'm working on at the moment. And yeah, you take a satellite photograph, and then the key thing is to... Oh no, it's crashed. Oh dear. Oh, it has crashed. Oh, that's... Oh man, I need to upgrade my computer. Is when... Oh. Oh dear. Yes, when you take... You can't see that because my face is in the way. Can I move my face out of the way? That's my face. That's me moving my face. You can see under here, under my face, there is a scale in meters, and it's important when you take a screenshot to make sure you get the scale in, because we shall be using that. Oh, I'll keep my face up here for the moment. Hold on. So, if you look, what we need to do, we save it out as a JPEG, take a screenshot, save it as a JPEG, and then you work out the scale. So it's 58 pixels per 10 meters. So 10 meters divided by 58, and I shall just do that. 10 divided by 58, and I'll get that big on the screen, and that's, whoa, that's me. 10 meters divided by 58 pixels. That's the number. Oh, my face is again in the way. So that's the number that we want. And that's a scale factor, because when you're working in CAD, I presume it's the same with other CAD programs as well, it brings it in at 1 meter per pixel, and it's actually 0.17 meters per pixel. So you just need to scale it down. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're scaling it down to the right size. Okay. Let's just, and I'll just do that quickly now. Oh dear. It's a bit slow. So everyone else in the house has got a faster computer than me. So I do need to, yeah, upgrade at some point. Okay. Let's just go and import that in. I've just got a plain, I just thought I'll just do a really plain CAD file. This is QCAD, by the way. So hold on a second, let me just qcad.org. That's where I get the, that's where the software's from. Really good free software. There's a paid for version. And then we import the image. Okay, and then I'll select the image. I'll just click on it. If I zoom out, you see it's massive, absolutely giant. And then in the right hand side, can you see? Oh, there we go. Yeah, you can see down here. It's got width factor and height factor, and that's a scale. So we're going to scale that. What the hell was the number? I can't remember the number again. 10 divided by 58. So maths is never my strong point. 0.1724. I should have copied it. Nope. 10 divided by 58. And I can just paste that straight in there. Yeah. There we go. And that scaled it. So that is now to scale. And that's it. Okay, so I go through this in some detail, both on my full course, which is Backyard Forest. I'm going to be moving my courses, by the way, fairly soon. I'm going to be moving them to Gumroad because it gives me more flexibility, put all my stuff in one place, and plus I get some more money. At the moment, people are buying the course. Yeah, Udemy get 50% of the money that comes in, and then they sell it they market it really cheaply. So it's a bit like, well, there's not much point doing it, really, to be honest. I'd much rather halve the price of the course and then sell it on Gumroad and sell it for like £70, £75, whatever, and then rather than get much less. It's a pain in the bum. So yeah, I'm not massively keen on Udemy at the moment. And then they take 50% of bugger all, which is next to nothing. Anyway, there is a course I've got. There's a mini course which is called Plan a Backyard Forest, and I've got my full course which is Create a Backyard Forest. And this is off the both of them. I'll go into some detail about how to get the satellite photograph in. So yeah, if you go to let me see if I can copy. There we go. Yeah, you get the idea. Okay, so there's more detail there for that, and now we've got the image and it's scaled. It's fab. The lovely thing is, I say this now with a great deal of certainty. What we want to do is basically create circles. What we want to do first of all is to create lines, and the lines are the boundary. I've got the order a bit wrong, so I'll do it really, really basically, in a real basic fashion. You create a line. So this is not. Oops. Hold on. This, yeah. Let's just. Oh, okay. There's the thing about the draw order, and sometimes you have to you try and draw lines on top of a photograph, and it gets put behind it for some reason. So you have to send the photograph, modify, draw order, send to back. So select an item, and you need to put it underneath everything else. So that's modify, draw order, send to back. So that's a bit of detail which you really you can do without at this stage. But there we go. You've got a line tool, so where's my line tool? There, in the top hand corner, and it's the simplest line tool. And you go around the property, and you create a line around the border, and I'll just do it very basically, so you get the idea. Okay, and that's the cool thing. So you can do that. What's nice about this? So that's it. That's really it for the boundary, and then you can mark up where the gates are on it and everything else. And what's so cool about doing this is that you can work out the area. A little bit complicated, but I'll do it anyway because you need to combine the shape into what's called a polyline, but don't worry about the details. But the cool thing is, if you do this, going to make a polyline from the selection. If you do this, then it gives you the area. So that area is 1,686 square meters, and that's how big the garden is. And then you can calculate how much mulch you need, how many plants, what kind of ground cover plants you need. And you can do this on an area by area basis. So this is another reason why CAD is so useful, is that it's good for working out quantities of stuff. And if you've got it's not so important for a smaller garden, or if it's something you're doing yourself bit by bit, you just kind of work on it bit by bit. But different if you're working on a garden for a job, then that's the kind of thing that you need to know. Actually, it's something I need to do later on this afternoon, is work out for each section how many ground cover plants there are per section, how many I need to propagate, and it's in the order of a few thousand. But yeah, so that's another really, really handy feature about being able to use CAD, is that you can calculate numbers very, very quickly. Okay, we'll save that, and then on to the so I've got the outline done, and then we're going to look at a circle. So the circle is your most important, probably the most important shape when you're using CAD for design. If you're doing it on paper, if you should remember last week, I traced the satellite photograph onto a piece of A4, A3, 5mm grid paper, and then you can you do exactly the same thing. You trace the border, the boundary of it on to the grid paper, and it's the same principle for a circle. If you're using pen and paper, the circle you make using a compass. So it's exactly the same principle. And what we're doing is to look at the diameter of trees and make sure they have enough spacing. So this is it. This is the important bit. I'll put it in big letters for you. So tree spacing is 1/4 to 1/2 average. Okay, diameter. Okay, so that is the key thing, the key takeaway. This is a rough kind of guide. The tree spacing, the spacing between the trees needs to be 1/4 to 1/2 of the average diameter of the trees. So you've got 2 4-meter diameter trees, and then so the average diameter is 4 meters, and then 1/4 of 4 is 1 meter, and 1/2 of 4 is 2 meters. And so the space between the trees needs to be about 1 or 2 meters. Yeah, that's the principle. So get this. This is the most important thing. That if you're doing this on paper, or if you're doing it on CAD, that's the important thing. And at this point, it's really important to say that. Okay, I'll just write this out again. I've said this quite a few times before. The map is not the territory. And what this means is we've got to really concentrate. The map is a tool for working out what's going on in the garden. So it helps guide your decisions in the garden. It's not the end product. Don't get hung up on a map. If you can't do it on a map, just work out in the garden or use a piece of paper. But it's a place to figure things out, calculate numbers, and you can do all of this in the garden. And what I would say is, you need to do this in the garden, but the map part of it is a tool to help speed up the process. So always go out and measure up before planting anything. Don't rely upon your map being accurate or even being correct, whatever correct means, because you might want to change your mind. You go, hell no, I'm not going to put that there. That's ridiculous. That's in the way of this, or I won't be able to see it from here. And then you can actually, there's some stuff you've got to do, like plant the plants in the garden. So the map is not the territory. So circle, there's enough chat about that. So a circle, we'll draw a circle here, and that circle is, if you look here, it's a diameter of 4. Let's call it 4 meters. So that there is a 4-meter diameter tree, and then you can say, oh, I want another 4-meter diameter tree. I copy and paste. Okay, and you can say, wow, that's great. What's the distance between those two trees? And then you can, one simpler way of doing it is to say, get a line tool, and then just draw a line tool between two circles, and that's 1.45 meters, and that's generous spacing between trees, depending upon which way you're facing, what the angle is, and all the rest of it. But making sure that's a kind of good spacing for trees. So that is the process. That is the most important thing. And then you can see, how many trees? This is what happens. I want to fit this many trees in, and you kind of cram the trees in, and you've got to take some trees out, and it's terribly exciting. And then you can actually figure out what fits and what doesn't fit. So for this job, for example, a client was talking about a strawberry tree, which is actually really kind of big for the space. I think it's a 8-meter diameter tree, and it's kind of too big really for the space, because it would mean, other things, you couldn't fit other things in, and it's not, by all accounts, I've heard this from a couple of different people, it's not particularly nice fruit, etc., etc. So you go, well, is it worth it? And this is part of the tool to help you decide whether you should include it or not. Okay, so this is what this is about. This is like, a map is a tool to help in the decision making process about what plants to put in and what plants you want. Okay, so that's a circle. What you can do very quickly, and I haven't actually talked about this, but is to use a text tool. and come on, text tool. Okay, and then I've got to call it Apple MM106, just as a quick. How is that? I don't know. Okay, and then we can pop that on there. Not particularly big. Let's make it a little bit bigger. So you can add. You can then add text and change the color of it and all the rest of it. So this kind of gives you, yeah. This says, oh, this is this particular tree. But you don't have to. But it's kind of handy. All right, so you can use a text tool, label your circles, and so you know which tree is which. That's your circles. Right in. Let's move on to the the rectangle. Now rectangles generally are going to be houses. What I would do is say, okay, you get a rough idea of the size of that house. There is actually a measuring tool which I should use, but you can use a line tool. And how big is the house? 14.6 meters. By that's there 7 meters, 14.6 by 7. So let's go and 14.6. Now what you can do is go and select, there we go, rectangle, shape tools, rectangle, and you can say, oh, let's get that, and then we'll work it out here, and then it's a bit like, okay, that's drawn. I've drawn a rectangle, and then I've got to, how do I change? It's a pain in the butt. It really is a pain in the butt. The best, trying to draw freehand rectangles is difficult. The best way of doing it is either to use this tool here, and I'll just zoom in for you. This tool up here, which is rectangle with size. And that's by far the easiest. That's pretty much all I use. So shape tools, rectangle with size, and I can't remember how much I said it was. Say 14.6 by 7, and you go, great, 14.6 by 7. There you go. There's the house. Lovely, lovely, lovely. That's the house there. But the angle's not right. And the really, really cool thing is you can put an angle in, and it does it for you straight away. 10's too much. 6. There we go. That's roughly it. So you can see. So and then it's got there's a little extension on the back, a little bit that sticks out, which you can add later on as well. But there you go. That's the rectangle. So this is a tool. If you do get into using CAD, this is a tool that I use a lot. Rectangle with size, and then you can define the size of it, and then you can define the angle of it as well. Okay. So that's your rectangle. And then on to lines, which I've done a little bit before. Basic line tool is very, very cool. And what you might try, what I would say is just to kind of mark out different areas. So I'll just show you very roughly here. There's a path comes in down here. You can just about see it. And you can use a line tool just like, like this. And this is, okay. And then you can draw another and say, oh, this is a path. You can do it by hand. And it's a bit wonky, but you get the idea. Okay, and then that defines that. You start defining the different areas and say, oh, this is actually the perennial veg area. This area here is going to be the bowl with trees going back, and this is kind of more woodland fruit trees up this end, and this is a woodland area down here as well. So yeah, and you can use a line tool. So those 3 tools, your circle, your rectangle, and your line tool, are enough to get you kind of most of the way there. And the important thing, come back to it again, the most important thing is to kind of is to get the trees in. And what you'll find is once you start working in the garden, you'll realize that once you start working in the garden, the really, really important thing is to to get your hands dirty, to see what the soil's like, to see what the conditions are like, to see how much light there is, and really start appreciating it. And some plants will work, plants that you thought would work well won't work well, and other plants will, and it's a kind of trial and error. So get out there. Once you've worked out where to put your trees and where your paths roughly are going, and get out there. Okay, next one then is the offset tool. Offset tool is absolutely fabulous. So I use this an awful lot. If you get, this is kind of more advanced stuff. If you do get into using CAD, it is brilliant, because then you can start defining like widths of paths. So I'll just get rid of this path here. Oops. Hold on. Okay, I'll get rid of that path, and then I'll use the offset tool. I actually can't remember where the hell it is. Offset with distance. That's it. This one here. So I'll just zoom in. Offset with distance is absolutely brilliant, because you can start making paths. So you've got rough. I say I want a 1 meter path, and then you put the distance in here. How many do you want? And yeah, other things. And then you can say, oh, I want a 1 meter path, and you can just and it offsets it exactly. Whoop. So you see, you can then create you can create a path offsetting, and you can do the same thing with all sorts of shapes as well. So you can have squares. Like I made a compost area which has got three 1 meter squares, and I just made a 1 meter square, and then I've just offset it twice. That's it. So it's nice and nice and interesting. Okay, so that's the offset tool, and what you're doing then start to do is you start to combine the line tool with the circle tool and the rectangle tool, and then use the offset tool as well, and it starts to become really, really interesting. So just to kind of give you a flavour of that, with this particular job, I have a series of, I have quite a formal area, and then I have a circle. I'm defining the paths with a circle, and then I use the offset tool. And there's concentric circles, they're not uniform like this, and then you can say, well, okay, we'll get a line tool, and I'll offset that line tool, and you can start to create shapes, and it's just quite, it's good fun. And it's also a lot easier than trying to mark stuff out first of all, which you have to do eventually anyway. But it's great to be able to say, oh, will this fit here? Will there be enough space for this path here? And you can play around with distance of width of paths and things. And that's where it starts to get really, really powerful. And one of the best tools for that is the divide tool. So you've used the offset tool, the circle and the rectangles, and then you use a divide tool, which is a pair of scissors. Where are you, scissors? I think it's this one. Requires selection. Divide. I think it's that one. Yeah. So you say, oh, I don't know. Let's divide this, and we'll make a path go through. So I'll just go through that again. So I want to create a path going through to the center circle. You select the object you want to cut, and then you go to a point. Oh, come on. Oh, sorry, it's not selected it. So you select the circle that you want. Let's get the tool. Oh dear, sorry, it's a bit fiddly. So, divide tool, this circle, and it says intersection, cut, select the bit you've cut, and then delete it. Yeah. And then you can cut a path, basically cut a path through intersection. So you select a shape, and you can say where it crosses over, delete it, and then you can see you start to create shapes in. I'll just finish it off because I'm a little bit nerdy. And then you can delete that bit. Okay. And then you just shorten it. Okay, and I won't go into all the different types of line and everything, but you get the idea. This is how you start to create shapes. It starts to get kind of complicated and interesting. And then finally, I will just show you NURBS, just because NURBS stand for non rational is it non-uniform rational B-splines? Yeah, whatever the hell that means. But basically, it's a curvy tool, and that's this one here. I'll just show you a curvy tool and why you would use the curvy tool. I'll get rid of these. Let's get rid of these horrible, edgy little paths, and I shall show you the beauty of the NURB tool. Come on then, out your way. Go on, do. Go. Okay, so with the NURB tool, it's this one here, spline tools, and hey, which one do I use? Control points, spline with control points, whatever that means. And then I'll just do 2 points and double click to select it, and then escape, and then basically it has a control point on here, and I don't know if you can see that. You can bend it around from the control points. You've got 2 fixed points and a control point, and it bends the curve in between, and that is absolutely perfect. Whoa, let's zoom out for bendy paths. So you can see here you've got bendy path. Do an offset for the path of 1 meter. There we go. I've got a lovely, beautiful bendy path in there straight away. Okay, so that's far nicer. And you go, oh yeah, that's a nice curved shape, and then you can use a divide tool, and you can use the offset tool, and yeah, you can combine it with circles, and it's just, yeah, it's really, really, really nice. So there we go. That's NURBS for you. NURBS. Okay. There we go. I hope that is interesting. You're a little bit nerdy, but if you do want to get into CAD, I am considering making a CAD course for Forest Garden Designer. How niche would that be? The end of. How niche would that be? There's a Zoom chat after this. Hope you enjoyed it. Do click on subscribe and like and all the rest of it on the YouTube channel. And thank you very much for watching, and see you soon. And I'll catch up on chat in a minute. Bye.